Let's study effectively with MISI CT Skill Builder. In this video, we will understand how copper cables and fiber optic cables are used in a network. Also, we will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of wired and wireless networks in terms of their performance and security.
Hey there, and welcome. Every time you stream a movie, click on a link, or hop on a video call, you're plugging into this massive, hidden, physical network. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the actual wires that make our digital world spin. The classic copper versus the super fast fiber. So that brings up the big question, right? What is the best way to connect? Is it the old school cable we've used for decades, or is it this futuristic beam of light? Well, the honest answer is, it kind of depends on what you're trying to do. To make this real, let's follow two different stories. Over here, we've got Zara. She's in charge of setting up a super secure computer network for her school's library. And then there's Marcus. He just wants a simple way for his family to stream movies and share photos at home without any hassle. Two very different people with very different needs, which, as you'll see, leads to two very different answers. Okay, let's dive right in by starting with the technology that's been connecting us for, over 100 years, the humble copper cable. So what you're looking at here is the traditional backbone of pretty much all modern communication. These are just thin strips of copper, and they formed the original telephone networks, and of course, they were the foundation for the early internet. I'd bet you still have some of these running through the walls of your house right now. So how does this stuff actually work? Well, it's pretty straightforward, really. Think of it like a highway, but for electricity. Your data gets converted into these little electrical pulses that just race down the copper wires from point A to point B. It's simple, it's effective, and hey, it's been getting the job done for a very, very long time. So here's the lowdown, the key trade-offs. On the plus side, copper is cheap, and all the infrastructure is already out there, which makes installation way easier. But it's got weaknesses. Signals from other electrical sources can mess with it and cause interference. And, maybe most importantly, there's a hard limit on just how fast it can actually go. Now, let's switch gears and talk about the modern challenger. If copper is the reliable classic, then fiber optics, well, that's the revolution. This is where things get really fast. This is a whole different beast, isn't it? Instead of metal wires, fiber optic cables are made of dozens of these hair-thin strands of pure glass. And instead of using electricity, they use something much, much faster to send information. The way this works is just incredible. It's literally flashing pulses of light down those tiny glass tunnels. Imagine sending Morse code with a super high-powered flashlight down a perfectly mirrored tube that's miles long. Your data is traveling, quite literally, at the speed of light. So you can see fiber's biggest strengths right away. The speed is just phenomenal, and because it uses light, it's completely immune to that electrical interference that can plague copper. So what's the catch? Well, all that cutting-edge tech costs more. The cables themselves are more expensive, and installing them often means digging up streets to lay brand new lines. All right, we've met the contenders. Now let's put them side by side in a direct showdown to see just how different they really are. First up, copper. A pretty standard connection is going to top out at around 300 megabits per second, or Mbps. Now, that's definitely enough to stream a 4K movie, but you might start to feel things slow down if the whole family is online at once. Okay, remember that number, 300. Now, look at fiber. We're not talking megabits anymore. Oh no, we are talking gigabits, or Gbps. And 1 gigabit is 1,000 megabits. So at 10 gigabits per second, you could download a full HD movie in like 4 seconds. It's not just faster, it's a completely different league. This table just puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? Electrical signals versus light pulses, vulnerable to interference versus totally immune, cheaper versus more expensive, The choice between them really comes down to this clear balance of cost, performance, and, of course, reliability. So, with all this talk about cables and wires, I bet you're wondering, hang on, why do we even need wires in the age of Wi-Fi? And you know what? That is a great question. It adds a whole other layer to this decision. Here's the thing. Any wired connection, doesn't matter if it's copper or fiber, has some fundamental advantages over wireless. It's usually more reliable because, walls can't block a cable. It's more secure since a hacker can't just tap in without physically plugging into your network. And it's faster. Wireless gives us incredible convenience, for sure, but that convenience comes with trade-offs in performance and security. Okay, so armed with all this knowledge, let's circle back to Zara and Marcus and finally solve their problems. Remember Zara's #1 priority for the school library? Security. She is dealing with confidential student data, and it absolutely positively has to be kept secret. So, what's the solution here? Well, because her top priority is security, a wired network is really a no-brainer. A hacker would need to physically get into that library and plug in a cable to gain access, which makes it far more secure. For the school, a wired connection is really the only responsible answer. Now let's check back in with Marcus. His family's needs are totally different, right? They're using tablets, laptops. They want to move around the house, share photos, stream movies. For them, it's all about flexibility and just making things easy. And for them, the answer is just as clear, but it's the complete opposite. That freedom to connect their laptops and tablets from anywhere in the house without plugging in a single cable, that's exactly what they need. A wireless network gives them the convenience that just makes sense for their life. And that really brings us to the main takeaway here. There is no single best type of connection. The right choice for a high-security library is totally the wrong choice for a family just trying to relax on the couch. It always comes down to what you need to get done. So, as our world's demand for data continues to just explode, for everything from 8K streaming to virtual reality, take a second to think about your own needs. The very foundation of your digital life is the connection you choose. So what are you going to
Thanks
need
for
to power
watching.
your future?
If this helped you clear up the concept, hit that like button and share it with a friend who might be struggling with it too. Let's build those skills together.